So I want to ask Farah to come up and say a word. And I want to first put her in a context for you because she is a remarkable woman. Undergraduate, very close, Smith College, where she was the president of the student body. Thank you very much. She has also gone on, as I mentioned, to be a Fletcher graduate. But Farah has set her course on public service in the government in some of the very toughest jobs there are. She's worked at the National Security Council as a director. She has worked at the State Department as leading a bureau. And most recently, and I believe most admirably, has served from 2009 through 2013 as the U.S. Senior Special Representative to the Islamic world. Her specialty is thinking through the ways in which we can counter violent extremism, but very much in a positive way, by launching programs that are aimed at youth, and her work took her to 80 different countries during this period of time. Programs like Generation Change, Viral Peace, the Transatlantic Leadership Network. In every sense, Farah represents the building of bridges in the 21st century to create security. Let me quote from her most recent boss as she left the State Department. She worked throughout most of that period, of course, for Secretary Clinton. As she was leaving, Secretary Kerry had the following to say about Farah. She is a trailblazer and a visionary whose legacy is an extraordinary record of thoughtfulness, balance, determination, and sheer guts. For Farah, this isn't just a career, it's her life's passion. She is someone I am so proud to call an alumna of the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, a tireless champion of creating security through the building of bridges in this 21st century. Join me in a big round of applause for Ambassador Farah Pandith.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and the sun is shining. Thank you, Admiral, for that very kind introduction. We are so fortunate to have you as our new dean and to take part as you set a course for the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy to excel as we move forward in the 21st century with thoughtful insights and vision and uncommon energy. You are an extraordinary leader in every sense of the word, and I continue to learn from you. To the faculty, I am honored and humbled to be here today as a proud Fletcher alumna and representative of the world beyond the Hall of Flags. Sounds like a wonderful kingdom from the Game of Thrones or something. It doesn't seem possible that I was in this audience about 20 years ago. Some of the faculty will recall that I was sure I was not going to graduate because I had not quite focused on that language requirement. I was too busy pondering about the next low-intensity conflict, thanks to Dr. Schultz. Issues going on in the Middle East, thanks to Dr. Fawaz. And most certainly, who was going to coordinate the various spring barbecues and dinners that Dr. has so generously offered to host? I am convinced that it was a miracle that saved me and allowed me to pass in French so that I could join the class of 1995 on graduation day. To my fellow alumni, welcome back. I know you will have a wonderful weekend here with old friends and faculty. A piece of advice based on my own experience. For some reason, the students here are getting younger. It is some kind of a trick. Don't let that detract you from your time back here on campus. To the administrator of USAID, Dr. Shah, welcome to Fletcher. Raj, I'm seeing you here not at the Secretary's morning meeting, as I'm used to, but in a new venue, under a tent. I bet you returned to DC with new ideas from your conversations with some of our newly minted Fletcherites. Education for women and girls, fighting extreme poverty, health innovation, climate change, economic policy, energy equality, you have come to the right place, and we are happy to welcome you. Now, let me turn to you, soon-to-be graduates. Congratulations. I am excited for you for so many reasons. Our planet needs Fletcher kind of leaders. Communities require a Fletcher brand of innovation. Governments demand global perspectives with a Fletcher training, and businesses need Fletcher acumen and international savvy. It's not an exaggeration to tell you that the path that I have had since I graduated was only possible because of the experience that I had here at Fletcher. I could not have known when I was sitting in your seat the crazy and unexpected professional journey I would take over the course of 2 decades. But what I do know, looking back, is that everything that I am doing now professionally came from my time here at Fletcher. It's actually quite fitting that the administrator of USAID is on the stage today. I came to Fletcher having worked at USAID for Administrator Roskins and thinking that I would concentrate on development when I got here. Imagine my shock to find that when I opened the course catalog, I was drawn to something called International Security Studies, as well as Islamic Civilisations and Southwest Asia. It's fair to say that prior to coming here, I did not know what those fields were, and it turned out I never even took one class in development. Instead, I jumped into issues on the front pages of the New York Times and the International Herald Tribune. Yes, I mean real papers, the kind you turn and leaves ink on your fingers. Spoiler alert, don't be alarmed. Some of you will have careers based on a trending hashtag. When I was here, the folks in Washington were concentrating on insurgencies and thinking about what was on the horizon in that domain. Note, though Al-Qaeda existed and attacked us, our world was not thinking about non-state actors in that way. We were thinking about peace in the Middle East, real peace. I started at Fletcher in the fall of 1993, September, and as you know, that's when President Clinton, Mr. Arafat, and Mr. Rabin signed the peace accords. And this was the era of Sam Huntington's Clash of Civilisations. It had just been published. And no matter where you went in the halls of Fletcher, students were debating his premise. I should note that in 2014, we still are. And every single day since September 11th, I have talked about the ideology of an us and a them. Fletcher kept me focused on the globe in ways that integrated all aspects of what I had seen at USAID, but also what I was reading about in the news. My professors were able to help me move my ideas into action, and I look back on their confidence in me, and I think about the course that they were setting. I remember going to a luncheon on the 7th floor of Cabot with a special guest, General Zinni, who said that the most terrifying place on earth was Kashmir, the place I happened to have been born. I recall being asked by Dr. Schultz and Dr. Bose to think about doing my MALD on the conflict in Kashmir, and it was only because I received grants from Fletcher that I was able to travel to the region to do my first-hand interview with militants. I call it my James Bond summer. No Americans were being allowed in Kashmir at that time, but I fibbed a little. I said I was there to visit family, which I was, but also secretly interviewing militants. That experience provided me with a foundation to understand extremism and radicalization and the power of ideology. But I did not know that then. When 9/11 happened, I was working in the private sector in Boston, but I felt compelled to serve my nation. I went back to Washington and have been there, as you heard, for the last 10 years, as a political appointee in the Bush administration and in the Obama administration. Yes, it is possible, and I have lived to tell the tale. I first went to USAID, and then I went to the National Security Council, and then to the Department of State. I was innovating around issues to counter violent extremist ideology. I was connecting pieces from the ground up, where history, culture, and religion meet political ideology and violent extremism. It was a Fletcher class in actuality. It was the way we use hard and soft power to diminish a global threat. A few years ago, I was sitting on the banks of a roaring river in the heart of the Pamir Mountains. I had just traveled there from Dushanbe on a really sketchy airplane that had no business flying. What I did for my country. Like many of you, when you came here, you were exposed to things that made you think differently. As I sat by that river, I remember thinking about how Dr. Hess had explained the horizontal and vertical movements of people, and military innovation, and the Taklamakan Desert, and the influence of the Silk Road. And there I was, right there, a special representative to Muslim communities, speaking to youth influenced by ideas that came from outside of their communities, ideas that changed their sense of self, and whose powerful influence even struck Boylston Street a year ago. The work that you will do in your careers may be, like mine, unnamed right now. There are allies we yet do not know, and there are enemies yet to be actualized. There will be tools we haven't discovered and opportunities we could not have imagined, and there will be new borders and old conflicts. Let's face it, there was no such thing as CVE, countering violent extremism, when I was here. But the strength of your experience and the exposure to fields, professors, and fellow students will shape the way you live your life and how you influence our planet. At each turn in my career, Fletcher has been the foundation from which I build, supported by my Fletcher gang, Jolene Higian, David Scruggs, Joe Vorbach, or John Cruz, to name a few, or special allies like Peter Ackerman and Betsy Powell. The people around you now are and will be incredible source of support and guidance to you. And you know what they say about the Fletcher Network? It's not an urban myth. Whether in Suriname or in Sweden, whether in Mauritania or Malaysia, the Fletcher connection has been valuable and very, very special to me. For me, the Fletcher family has been just that, loving, supportive, and reliable. You do not need to know what precisely you will do with this fantastic experience in the years ahead, but you should know you, your passion, what drives you, what's important to you. What comes with that knowledge is powerful, and as our planet tries to deal with so many complex issues, you will be moving us forward to contain threats, build resilience, grow economies, and power the future. I wish you a life that demonstrates who you are and what you now have the power to do. I hope and expect that Fletcher will continue to be trending throughout your lives. My hashtag for you, Bright Fletcher Future. Congratulations, and thank you.